Yo, now it's the Red Blue Podcast crew. Reviewing flicks, both old and new. Red and blue, not political. Nah, man, chill. It was Marvel versus DC till we lost that thrill. Don't stress the episode, don't ask the season. We double up franchises, don't ask for a reason. Multi's got rules that nobody gets. His takes on movies, they're wild as it gets. He's got Superbald Mac and Gray by his side. Trying to keep it sane while they're in for the ride. Multi's measures are out of control, but in the end he's got the final role. Yeah, Red Blue Podcast, come check the scene. Movies old and new, know what I mean?
And we are live talking about Kingpin. How are you, Superbald?
I'm doing good, you?
I'm doing great. What about you, Matt? Welcome back.
I'm happy to be back. It's a bummer. I missed the episode about Blade, but I'm sure you give a 9 of 10 for Blade Trinity, so I missed nothing. So yeah, I'm happy to be here to talk about Kingpin. It's a new movie I never seen before, so yeah.
We actually didn't review Blade Trinity on that one. We only did the first two.
I cannot wait to roll the third one once we get there. If it's bad, or if I like it, maybe we will get a Godfather 3 take again.
I hope no.
I would say it's impossible, but you had that Godfather 3 take, so I don't know, Multi. Anything's possible with you, sir.
Yeah.
How are you, Gray?
Doing good, man. It's a great week. We're at full strength here, so that's awesome. Finally, everyone's back, and we're going to talk about this amazing film. So, yeah, doing real good.
Amazing.
What about you, Multi? How you doing, sir?
Doing great as well, because we are at full strength, as you said it. I like that. More weeks like that. More weeks like that. So, Gray, why Kingpin this week?
Did I pick it? I could not remember. I know Superbald had a list of awesome movies, and it seemed like half of mine overlapped with his, so I couldn't remember. Well, I absolutely love Kingpin. I think it's my favorite Farrelly Brothers film. It happens to be their second one, so Dumb and Dumber was their first one. Something About Mary is their third one. They had a run, kind of like, now I'm blanking on his name, but he basically... made all Judd Apatow basically had a run in the early 2000s. The Farrelly Brothers were kind of like that. Just anything they put their name on seemed to get some really big praise, except for one film, and it happens to be this one. So it always was kind of a outlier to me. I don't know how I ended up with like the DVD of it, but man, I watched this so many times as a kid, and just almost nobody talks about it, especially when they're talking about the Farrelly Brothers. It's always Dumb and Dumber or Something About Mary. They've got a few other ones that people don't really talk about, but nobody brings this one up. And it's during the kind of the golden age of, 90s comedy. 96. It was a good year for comedy. But yeah, it seems to be forgotten. And I think it's my favorite Woody Harrelson performance, possibly my favorite Bill Murray performance. It's such a fun film. And I was hoping it holds up. I hadn't seen it in like a decade, and maybe I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses, but I love this movie. It's always had a huge impact on me, so that's why I suggested this one.
And thank you for doing so. If you didn't suggest it, I would never have watched it, and I was surprisingly surprised. It was a fun experience. I liked it, and I will let Matt start on that one. What did you think of Kingpin, Matt?
Yeah, so I have a funny story about this movie. It's the first time I see this movie, but a few years ago, when I see a movie with Woody Harrelson, and I talked this movie with my father, and my father said, "Hey, I know this actor. He's from a movie when he played this champion of bowling. We lost this arm and tried to be a champion again." I was like, "What is this movie? It's so absurd, the concept." When a year ago he talked this movie a few times, and I never had the chance to see this movie. So now I have finally the chance to see this movie, talk this movie with my father. My father loves this movie, so now I see why. It's a funny comedy, like Gure say, funny concept with a great actor in it. Woody Harrelson is maybe one of the best acting role in a career. I see many movie with this actor, and I can say that. And Bill Murray is he play is does what Bill Murray is good at it. He's a funny character, but a bad one. He's egocentric and perfect character. Love just him and love the money and use everyone to gain that. I want to see more of this character. He's like in the start in the movie and in the end in the movie. I want to see more of Bill Murray because Bill Murray is so good in that. And with this duo with Woody Harrelson work very great. And yeah, I don't know. Randy Quaid is the other main character in the movie. Discovery is the brother of Dennis Quaid. Is another big actor. And did he play this Amish, Manish naive guy want to save this community with money for save the community. He's funny and some scene so absurd with him. I remember and one scene in the strip club when he's like half naked in dance. He pretended to be a woman. I was like, what the hell is that scene? I went, okay. After that, I remember the director of the movie, Peter and Bobby Farrelly. This brother are very well known for their light comedy. I see many of them. These two brothers are very good at it. Dumb and Dumber. This something about Mary, me, myself, Irene. Osmosis Jones, so many good films. Recently, I like Ricky Staniski, the movie released on Amazon. Is a comedy with John Cena. The director is just Peter, not the two brother. But I like very much this comedy, and yeah, it's a funny comedy for this time with many some many things memorable. So yeah, I'm happy to see this movie, and the concept with the fake arm is something to see. And this movie, I don't know in the real life you can play bowling with a fake arm like that, but I want to see that. I don't know why, but yeah. So yeah, for me it was good. It was a good and a good surprise, and happy to finally talk this movie with my father. So yeah, I think this movie deserves to be watched. Maybe not the greatest movie of the Ferrari brother, but some good one you have done. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I guess I will pass to Mike to Superbald. What did you think of Kingpin?
Oh, this is one of my favorite movies. I remember seeing it on video when it came out. I've always loved it. I have it on DVD, and this is actually the first DVD I ever owned.
Oh,
I've had this since 2001. It's so old. It's one of those like double-sided ones that has like the standard definition on one side and the widescreen on the other.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. In fact, when I
Does yours
got
have
this,
the R-rated cut?
yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And actually, when I got this, I didn't even own a DVD player. My girlfriend at the time had a DVD player, and when we broke up, I had to fight with her to get this back. And I'm glad I did. But yeah, I've always loved this movie. I hadn't seen it in a long time either. And I wasn't sure if it was going to hold up, but it still does. It still does. There's very little about it that hasn't aged well, if anything at all. And yeah, this is my favorite Woody Harrelson performance in anything. Bill Murray is at his Bill Murrayest in this movie. I love him. Randy Quaid. I know Matt wasn't really familiar with him at the time this came out, though. He was kind of a big actor. I think this came out like maybe the year after Independence Day, in which Randy Quaid was in, and he was in a bunch of in the 90s. He was kind of a big actor in comedies.
okay.
action movies. The guy could do a lot.
I feel this brother is most famous. Dennis Quaid is
Yeah,
most yeah.
I think his brother was always a little more famous. But no,
It
he
was
was a
actually
good.
the same year as Independence Day. Oddly enough,
Oh,
96,
really?
big year.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, and yeah, he was a great actor. Unfortunately, he went a bit cuckoo a few years ago.
oh,
Um, yeah, he won't get into the details of that because it's pretty bad shit. But
okay.
and he escaped to Canada. There were even rumors that a few years ago he was living in the city where I live now. Some people said they saw him around town.
Oh yeah.
No idea if that's true, but this is my favorite performance of his, though. Probably or tied at least with cousin Eddie in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. But yeah, he was just amazing in this movie. Vanessa Angel, I haven't seen her in anything else now that I remember, but yeah, she was capable in this movie. Um,
This is biggest role in Hollywood. She was a model.
yeah, and she's I think she's English, like, and a couple
Yeah.
of times her accent kind of slipped. I found in this movie. Um, but yeah, as Gray was saying, this is like a Farrelly Brothers movie that kind of gets overlooked, and I don't know why. This is my favorite of theirs. Actually, I like this better than I was a big fan of Dumb and Dumber, but I like this better. And same thing with Something About Mary. I think this is a better movie. And it's just yeah, and at the time it came out, it was kind of like maybe the golden age of just like dumb comedies. Uh, and dumb, mindless comedies that they're unashamedly dumb. They're not trying to pass themselves off as anything else. They're just dumb comedies where you can just turn your brain off and have a good laugh. And I'd say this is probably among the best. And yeah, there's a few things I had forgotten that I really love. There's a lot of jokes that are just really stupid, but I love them. Like the huge cloud of shit one. I love that one. Um, uh, Even a lot of the side characters well cast. Some of the there's one thing I found really funny. I only put it together now. I don't think I had ever realized this before, but there's a joke where Chris Elliott's character, he was like the high roller at the casino. He walks up to Woody Harrelson and says, "I will give you $1 million to sleep with your friend," and that's actually a reference to another movie that Woody Harrelson had made a few years before called Indecent Proposal, where Robert Redford played this millionaire, this rich guy who paid him $1 million to sleep with his wife, who was played by Demi Moore. Um, no, I just really, really love this movie. Yeah, I really have much more to say, but yeah, to me, it was always been one of my favorites.
I feel you, and I guess I will be next because I feel like if I ask Gray, "Do you want to be next?" It will be like, "Go ahead." So I will already cut
I don't
the
want to step
shade.
on your toes, man.
So I really enjoyed that movie a lot, and I only had one issue with one of the joke, the neighbor asking about drinking piss. I was rolling my eyes. I was like, why did they approve this one? And I that was early in the movie, so I was kind of worried. I was like, if the movie is like that the entire time, I will actually hate it a lot. But turns out that's a good thing. The movie wasn't like that for the rest of the movie. That
Actually,
was
that
Oh,
scene
come
had
on.
one of my favorite jokes though,
Yeah,
because when he asked
right before.
the other guy next to him, how's life, and he's like, taking forever.
Yeah,
I
it
actually
is an
like that one.
amazing joke, man. That other neighbor is awesome.
Yeah,
And yeah, that was my only issue. I was entertained. I really liked that movie. I thought the pawn of the main character being corrupted was very funny. Like the pawn is forgot his name. The Amish guy. The guy
Ishmael.
he's basically
Ishmael, yeah.
using. Yeah. Um, it was entertaining, and him being corrupted so fast was a nice joke because they were like, don't get corrupted if you go out there, and like not necessarily the next scene, but like not that far after he's already corrupted. That was just golden. I really enjoyed that a lot. um what else? I thought that movie was really good at showing stuff over telling. That's a good thing. Do that more often, movies. Um, what else? The main character coming from being selfish to becoming caring of others was very cool as a character arc. And I also thought the humor overall worked outside of that neighbor talking about piss. Um, I really liked it. Again, it was a funny trip, and I don't usually care about bowling, but that movie made me care about bowling for some reason. Maybe it's because it's a good movie. Um, I don't have a lot to say outside of nice one, and thank you for choosing that, Gray. And now I will let you talk about it, Gray.
Sure. Yeah. So I just absolutely love this movie. And there's so many reasons to love this, but yeah, I think this is my favorite Farley Brothers movie. Fairley Brothers. I always say their name incorrectly. My favorite Woody Harrelson movie. It's definitely my favorite Randy Quaid movie. I think it's my favorite Bill Murray movie. Just I don't know, the combination of all of those just makes it so amazing. So it's a little different than some of the other Fairley Brothers movies. With this one, they only directed. It was actually written by a dude named Barry Finaro and Mort Nathan, which the names aren't that familiar because they've only written a couple of different screenplays. But prior to this, they had worked together on Golden Girls, which is, kind of interesting. Not exactly the same humor, but I dug that show, and I think these guys wrote an amazing movie. But what they were going for is kind of
I never would have guessed that this was had any relation to Golden Girls. Wow.
Yeah,
it's not at all the same type of humor.
It's not. Well, there's some lessons you learn on this, but yeah, I think these dudes are amazing writers. I wish they could have kind of gotten together and worked on some more stuff because, yeah, sadly, this is one of their only features, if not their only feature. Yeah, I didn't do a ton of research into that other than, yeah, it's just the dudes from Golden Girls, which is a great show on its own right, but it is nothing like Kingpin. So it's really weird. So this one, it's got a budget of 27 million, so I've seen two different estimates. One was 25 million and one was 27 million. And they had just done Dumb and Dumber, and it was just this huge hit. So everyone kind of assumed that this was going to be a huge hit. And sadly, nobody wanted to go see it. It was during the 96 Atlanta Olympics. So Peter Farrelly kind of blames the Olympics for why people didn't come see this. But I don't know if the Olympics ever stop people from seeing a movie. But in all, in the box office, it grossed 27 million. So this was not a success by any means. They might have recouped the initial budget, but any advertising, anything like that, it's definitely a flop, and it is kind of the biggest flop that the Fairleys are.
Yeah, I think it's one of them. It's
associated
one of
with.
those. It's one of those movies from that era that sort of became popular on home video afterwards.
Yeah,
It's
I know that's when
unfortunate.
I saw it.
That's where I saw it too.
Right?
Yeah.
Me too. I feel this movie is like good for location on the store. Is a good comedy with to see and with friend or family like.
It's
Sure.
unfortunate. That was a fun movie. It's sad it didn't work.
Yeah, it's kind of like the epitome of a 90s comedy. It's got the whole road trip thing. It's got a bunch of repeating gags. It is montage comedy at its greatest. There's so many montages in this, and every one of them works so well for me. But this was almost going to be a completely different movie. So originally, Chris Farley was offered the role of Ishmael. So instead of Randy Quaid, we are going to have Chris Farley, which could have been interesting. And he actually was going to do it. He was basically signed up for it. But in 96, he was also doing Black Sheep, and he couldn't contractually get out of that one. So he had to step out. And then the role of Woody Harrelson, so Roy, was offered to Michael Keaton, and he was signed up for it. So it was initially going to be Michael Keaton and Chris Farley, which would have been really interesting. But then we were also going to have Jim Carrey, who was the first choice for Ernie McCracken. So it would have been Michael Keaton, Jim Carrey, and Chris Farley. This would have been so different of a movie, and I don't know if that would have worked. I love all of those actors, but I can't see it. Maybe it would have worked. And then before Michael Keaton was signed on for it, apparently it was first offered to Nick Cage, and he turned down the role of Roy. But that also would have been interesting. I love Nick Cage and Raising Arizona, but I can't imagine him in this type of comedic role. I can't imagine him being.
Did you ever see the
enough.
movie Trapped in Paradise? I think
Yes.
that's the only type of that type of comedy he's ever done that I know of. Anyway,
fair enough. I don't know if he would be cool with getting the comb over, if he's up to the comb over humor. But man, it is awesome because Woody Harrelson was game for it, and he really let him shave the horseshoe into his hair. So at the time that this was out, Woody Harrelson was only 35, and I think Vanessa Angel was like 31. And then we have, Randy Quaid, who happened to be 14 years older than her. It's interesting because they're still both Vanessa and Woody Harrelson refer to him as the kid, even though he's 11 or 14 years older, respectively. I love that gag. It's never addressed. He's just known as the kid. I just absolutely love a lot of these kind of continuing gags that are just never really brought up. But Woody Harrelson is only in this because Peter Farrelly got really lucky with a pool shot somehow. So they already had Michael Keaton signed on, but Peter Farrelly just had this feeling that he wasn't going to do it, that he was going to back out. So he actually, when they first moved to LA, Woody Harrelson and Peter Farrelly were both roommates for some reason. They just seemed to like each other, so they knew each other really well, but both of them thought, that guy's never going to make it. And Woody went on to do Cheers, and Peter Farrelly kind of just kept writing scripts and was kind of a script doctor, if you will. He got brought in for rewrites, but he didn't have a bunch to his name. So they both just kind of never thought that, the other one was going to make it. And then they struck big on Dumb and Dumber, and somehow they kind of reconnected and were playing pool. And he just had this feeling that Michael Keaton was going to back out. So he had this trick shot where he had to like bank it off of like 3 sides of the pool table and then make it. And he just looks at Woody and is like, okay, so if I make this shot, you're going to make this movie happen. You're going to be the one in it. You're our Roy. And he said, okay. And apparently Peter Farrelly is really bad at pool, but somehow he made this shot. And that's the only reason that Woody Harrelson agreed to do it. But it's just kind of interesting. I think that would have been completely a different movie without any one of these 3 characters. They just completely make it. And then, Quaid, Randy Quaid is actually the only reason that Bill Murray is in the movie. Apparently he like hand delivered the script to him and told him like, you need to play this character. And he's the only reason why he kind of signed on to this. And then it's Bill Murray being the most Bill Murray that he can be. So he knew that he was hot shit when this happened, and he basically played this role like he does all of his roles. He read what the script's intention was and then just immediately threw it away and just ad-libbed everything, which is amazing. Every single line that Bill Murray is doing in this is just off of the top of his head, including when he's like harassing the waitress, like, hey, do me a favor, when you come back, make sure to wash off that perfume. And then where he's like hitting on the women behind him, he's like, hey, not you.
Yeah.
Hey. It's just awesome. Like he is.
Well,
just
why don't you go
asshole.
eat that outside and come back in?
Yeah. It's amazing. And he really is a comedic genius. I think he might be an asshole like this character, but man, this is just it's perfect. It's peak for me. And then that whole commercial of like the fatherless families.
Oh yeah, that's so funny.
Man.
That was the funniest one.
They went so hard with that, and you could just see on the actress when he like slaps her skirt, she was not expecting that. Like you can see an honest look of surprise, but man, just he knew the assignment, and man, that dude delivers. So yeah, I think it's awesome that there is that running joke of like the kid, and just Quaid's like 14 or 11 years old, or 14 or 19 years older, excuse me, and yeah, it's weird. I wonder if this movie would be seen as kind of more woke today. Just there is a really strong, smart female who seems to be successful in what she does, where all the men around her are kind of failing. But I don't know. It doesn't come off like preachy to me. Like it does seem natural. Like, yes, these guys are idiots. And, she's not. So she's able to play everybody, and it kind of works out for So I don't know. I just wonder if it would play different today, even with the same exact things. But man, there's so many amazing jokes in this. Just the 90s montage humor is so amazing. They play the same Goldfinger Superman song every single time that they need to like escape from something. So like when they're escaping from the strip club, it's the same Superman song. When they're, I'm forgetting what the first one is, but that song comes back like 2 or 3 times, and it's kind of their getting away in the convertible song. It's just kind of amazing. But I just love it. And then there's the road trip montage where she's popping like the champagne in the front seat, and he's like, no, I don't drink. And then all of a sudden you see him smoking this like giant 3-foot bong. I love the corruption of Ishmael, but they get so many gags through just like this fun montage thing. I dig it. It seems like almost every scene has a montage in it at some point. I have to think that that's coming from television going into a screenplay, because man, it takes forever to set up a montage, but almost every one of them works for me in this. And then I just love the whole idea of it. It's basically like The Natural meets Rocky, and then we've got like The Hustler and Color of Money thrown in there too, but it's about bowling. I don't know. It's just I would not anticipate that anybody wants to see a gambling movie about bowling, but man, it's so great. And then they do a lot of musical humor in this too. The whole "Hello Darkness" thing. Man, I absolutely love that. That's absolutely great. And
I actually forgot how this actually has a pretty good soundtrack.
it really does.
Yeah, like
You got some Blues Traveler.
Yeah, it's Blues Traveler, especially when they're like, the bowling montages. You've got like Thunderclap Newman, a bunch of other stuff. It actually has a pretty kick-ass soundtrack for a comedy.
It really does. And what is it? Urge Overkill or whatever comes in for no reason and plays the national anthem.
Yeah, because they were big at the time because they had done that song from
I think
from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, which is interesting because that's really the only song I know of theirs, but it was interesting seeing them there.
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
Singing the national anthem of all things.
Yeah. And at the major tournament, just having the announcer be John Popper and then having him show back up for the montage at the end.
I didn't even realize that was John Popper, but it's true. Yeah, that's John Popper from Blues Traveler.
Yeah, it's so 90s, but in a great way. I just absolutely love it. There's a lot of kind of throwaway jokes that you don't necessarily notice, but man, it is kind of great. Like
the one that I love that is so subtle is when he keeps saying, "Where do I keep getting Munson from?" Every time he thinks that he said the wrong name.
Yeah, and it's so close to the Samsonite thing from Dumb and Dumber, but still, it's a little different.
I like the gag when Woody Harrelson disguises himself as Amish, and when he build a house, and the people they call for the food, and he let go the rope, and everything will fall apart, and Amish go to him, and what do you think? What do you do that? He like don't remember what the Bible says, forgiveness.
It's against it.
Well, and then that gets called back at the end where Ishmael asks him like, well, you know what the Bible says about forgiveness?
Yeah. Or that gag about the bowl. It's like, I took the liberty of milking your cow. We don't have a cow. We have a bowl.
It took forever. It was kind of stubborn, but once it got going, it just
all at once.
It's great. I'm gonna go brush my teeth. And then that starts like the great Amish montage where he's nailing his hand to the board, and it's great. I love the sight gag a minute in this. It's great, but it's got some other gags that are a little bit more subtle. Like they play the beginning very serious, kind of like a Hallmark or a sports movie, like it would be, and you get that the father actually cares about him. He gives him his watch even, and man, that just like throwaway joke at the end where it's like his father mentions like, if you're in a pinch, you could sell this, or maybe one day you can figure out how to make it work. And just Vanessa just at the end just kind of just mentioning like, oh yeah, it's a wind up. It just shows how stupid Woody Harrelson was for like keeping it for 20 years, never trying to wind it. Same thing with the father. I don't know. It just adds so much. And then in that same beginning part, his dad makes sure that like one day you will make the name Munson world famous, and you will make it known for great things. And just the subtle everybody in the film knowing the phrase Munson out in the middle of nowhere. I absolutely love that. There's just so many like little verbal things that are kind of thrown in there. And I guess Woody Harrelson is just a notoriously horrible bowler. So they had to have a stunt double just every single frame that he bowled. It looked awful. It didn't even look like he could throw the ball, apparently. So they always shot every time that he's bowling from behind, and that's a stunt double doing it. But at the end, where Bill Murray needs like the 3 turkeys, they had that entire crowd there. I guess except for the top row is cardboard cutouts, but you know, you're not going to look at the very back of it. But everyone that he needed to do, the reason why the crowd is getting so crazy on that, he literally threw 3 balls and got 3 strikes. Apparently, Bill Murray is just like an amazing bowler. So every time that he is shown bowling, that's actually him. And he was actually throwing that awesome acrylic ball with the rose in it. That is a beautiful ball. But yeah, I guess he's just like an amazing bowler and just like killed it, which I guess, oddly enough, I guess Randy Quaid is like a amazing scratch golfer. So he did kind of the same thing for, I think it was Caddyshack 2, if I remember right. But kind of a similar thing. Like you wouldn't think this actor is so amazing at a particular sport, but apparently both of those guys are at their particular sports. But man, I just absolutely love like every joke in this. Where you first get introduced to Big Earn, you just start hearing this narration, and it's Bill Murray going on just talking so much shit, and then it ends with Roy being like, "Hey, do you mind? I'm trying to bowl here." And he's like, "Oh, was that out loud?" I love every aspect of this, and just yeah, Big Earn McCracken. I think he's one of my favorite characters that Bill Murray's ever done. He's done some kind of like it. You know, I'm kind of torn. Maybe Groundhog Day is my favorite Bill Murray one, but it's got to be close. Just that Big Earn McCracken is just, that's an amazing character. And
Why
just
you have sugar in your back seat.
Yeah, it's for my coffee. Yeah, it's great. And the comb over, the battle of the comb overs at the end is just so amazing.
So many subtle jokes in this movie.
So many. I started writing down a couple, and I couldn't stop. When they're finally doing their first scam, where he's showing Woody Harrelson that, like, you know, you can make some money with this, and they're bowling against the priest, and the priest mentions like, "Yeah, bowling for money is my only vice," as he's, you know, drinking, and then slaps the waitress on the ass. He's like, "Well, two vices." Yeah, and then like Bill Murray's subtle, "That's not bad." It's great. I absolutely love like every part of this. The alarm clock bit when you know, we flash to the present where Woody Harrelson is having to wake up, and you see like the alarm clock has like 4 or 5 different hook marks in it. The table's all scarred up from exactly what we see going on. I just think that's amazing.
There was one joke that I really liked. That it's very subtle. It's he's having Woody Harrelson's having a discussion with Venice Angel, and he says something. He's like, "Oh, you think you're so smart? Who are you, Alfred Einstein?"
I remember.
I think a lot of people didn't get that joke because, you know, it's supposed to be Albert Einstein.
Yeah, it's subtle.
I remember a subtle gag either. In the start of the movie, the character Woody Harrelson do a scam to not pay all this bill for this apartment, and he pays someone to mug and when she come after in the apartment to think for him, the little guy is here, and he shoot a coffee on the face. And he's
Bastard, how'd you get in here?
It's so perfect.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Or the thing with the thing with the $20 bill too at the convenience store. That's a trick we wouldn't be able to pull off in Canada because our money is all different colors and we don't have dollar bills.
There's so many amazing ones in this. Again, the Monson out in the middle of nowhere callback that everybody seems to know. Yeah, just Ernie's, supporting of fatherless families. I absolutely love that entire video. It's so amazing. It's just spot on. It rides that line of too gratuitous, but it is definitely not. Um, I love his Roy's interview with I think it's ESPN where they ask him, "What have you been doing all these years?" And just like his subtle, after the hook,
Well, there was the
drinking.
80s and drinking, lots of drinking.
He eventually settles on drinking, and like the interviewer doesn't know what to say, so he's like, "Well, are you still drinking?" And then Woody's like immediate turn of like, "No, that's all behind me." Wait, why are you buying? It's great. I absolutely love it. It's great. So yeah, you get the epic comb over versus comb over battle, and then I absolutely love the way that they actually end it. You'd think in every other sports movie aside from Rocky, we've watched this guy's beginning. We watched him struggle, so he's going to be triumphant. And just, man, he is not. And you can really feel that as, he just sits there and everybody clears out and it's just him and the janitor, and the janitor hands him his hand after sweeping up everything. It to me is just kind of like the perfect wrap up of that. And then it makes sense because it bookends the movie in both ways, where then you get the reveal that actually, because he was called Rubber Man the entire tournament, that gets him this very lucrative sponsorship. But if you remember in the start, once he is, once he wakes up from the alarm clock thing, he is trying to sell essentially rubbers to the bowling alley. And now his bowling has gotten him a rubber sponsorship. It's just, it's kind of amazing. It comes full circle. Absolutely love that. And then, yeah. I just think it's so funny, like the way that he actually, the way that it's revealed how the watch works. Vanessa shows him the watch after he threw it down when they visit his old town. And he's like, "Oh, you got the watch working." She's like, "Yeah, it's a winder." Just how subtle that is. And, it doesn't really, it's like the Alfred Einstein thing. It's not really drawn a ton of attention to, but definitely on subsequent viewings, it kind of comes back up like, wait, that's the thing that is, it's just, the setup on it is flawless. I absolutely love it. And then, the Amish Blues Traveler at the end. Why not have Blues Traveler over every credit? But it's kind of awesome that, this Amish country community is just willing to watch a rock band. I don't know. It feels like perhaps more should be said there, but no, we're just going to have Blues Traveler rocking out on the Amish farm. There's just so much about this that I absolutely love. And there's so many little things that just, it's a joke a minute. The whole, when Roy is trying to talk Ishmael into, doing his true calling, into going after a ball, he's telling him, there's something that is your calling. It's round and you put 3 fingers in it. He's like, you leave Miss Rebecca out of this. Man, it's so great. I love the stupid brand of humor that's going on in this one. And just, for me, this one really held up. I was hoping for it.
Do not make comedies like that anymore, unfortunately.
The dumb
They really
comedy
don't.
is
That's
trying
way
to
too
not work
offensive.
anymore. Yeah, too offensive.
Too offensive to be made.
But even just
kind
not
of is.
necessarily offensive, but just humor that's just like dumb, like just like turn your brain off type of humor. They don't really make that kind of comedy anymore.
They don't, and I wish they did. Matt brought up Ricky Stenicki. I think it gets close, but still, it's got a different kind of raunch to it versus this one, which this one was originally released as a PG-13. It doesn't feel like a PG-13. Like, it goes really hard for a PG-13. There is a cool R-rated cut that I know Superbald has on his DVD, but they add, I think it's like 20 more minutes to it. It does get it raunchier, but still, it's very much in the same vein. It doesn't change it a lot. Where, there's other movies that we've talked about that were originally shot as an R, and then they tried to cut it back to a PG. That doesn't quite work as well for me, where this one was intended to be like a hard PG-13. And I'm really struggling to come up with like a better quintessential PG-13 comedy. But man, this one worked for me on so many levels. I wish it was more successful, but it's definitely got a cult following. But yeah, I think it definitely shaped kind of how the Farrelly brothers anticipated a lot of their releases. But man, this is that kind of golden one that just gets overlooked.
I
I
feel
can't say
like
enough good about it.
I feel like the runtime was perfect. So I think 20 minutes. I don't know about that. I'm glad I didn't see the R-rated one. Sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah, because the R-rated
No,
one, which is the one I have, is almost 2 hours long.
Oh damn.
Yeah, and this was during that time where they basically were saying, well, I don't know. This one's saying that it's 1 hour 54 minutes. So I don't know. If it is 1 hour 54 minutes, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it's that hour and a half comedy.
No,
it
this
just,
movie
the time
never,
flies
at least
in a
for
great
me,
way.
never felt like it was dragging. No, like, boy, I mean, it's a joke a minute. It's you're never bored with this movie.
Yeah, I think it's got an impeccable soundtrack. I absolutely love the credits in the beginning. It's the pin setter machine coming down and like bringing everyone's name on pins down. I absolutely love it. There's nothing that I would change about this movie. I think Multi's wrong. His joke that didn't land, the piss drinking, I think it just sets up how stupid that particular neighbor is and how much the other guy wants to end it all because he's stuck with that guy. To me, it works perfectly. So, yeah, it's just a hidden gem that they talked about making a sequel to, and I'm kind of glad they didn't. I think it could only be ruined.
It could never have lived up to this.
I don't think so. And there's so many gags we didn't talk about. Everything about this is great. Ishmael thinking that getting the lap dance is what you get paid for. The entire strip club thing is just amazing.
The one where he's sitting
absolutely
I love the one where he's sitting in the urinal.
Oh,
Oh,
I can
yeah.
figure some things out for myself, Mr. Munson. Yeah, it's great. So I don't know. It's just that hidden gem. I love it. There was talks of making a sequel, and I'm really glad they didn't end up doing it because it's amazing. That being said, you can subsequently see Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray together in Zombieland. Also,
Yeah,
Really?
that's true.
That's true. Where
Not
Bill
on the
Murray
same
actually
par.
plays himself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So maybe we can say that's the movie where he's at his most Bill Murrayest.
fair enough. But
But
yeah,
mind you, this movie I think is the most Bill Murray role ever. I'm
I
talking
think
about
so.
Kingpin. Yeah.
And I think, he was at kind of his peak. Like this was
Yeah.
the 90s. He had just come out of the 80s where he's just some superstar.
Mm.
He was the man of comedy. So they were lucky to get him. And man, would this role have been so much different. If that's Jim Carrey, it's just going to be over the top. And it would have been so much different of a film. So glad that we got this. But I do wish it was more successful. I think we would have gotten some more comedies. Because I'm trying to think. I think it was the same year that he did The People vs. Larry Flint, but I can't think of too many other comedies, straight up comedies that Woody Harrelson did. But I have to
Not
think he would have been
really.
great in that.
Not really, because he mostly did, especially after Cheers ended. I think he wanted to distance himself from that role, so he did a lot of dramas and action movies, like the Natural Born Killers. I think came out right after Cheers ended.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just kind of this perfect movie of a perfect time. I wish it worked financially for them, but man, it really holds up. So yeah, I guess I like that it became a cult classic, and I hope films can do that today because there's a few good ones that keep getting overlooked. But I don't know if we have the same thing as this with streaming and everything available. I'm not sure if you're gonna have these like DVDs or tapes that get passed around and really create like a cult classic. But hopefully we get more like this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that-
just absolutely a great movie. I didn't realize that I suggested it, but I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did.
Actually, I remember. I think I put it on my list.
I thought
And
so
then,
too.
and then Multi said, "Oh, Gray's already mentioned that one, so I replaced it with something else."
And it's funny
Oh,
because
nice.
you also suggested Galaxy Quest, but Gray also suggested it. So I was like, these two, like Gray already suggested both.
We just knew that you hadn't seen the classics, Multi. You consider them ancient relics of a far, forgotten civilization. But it's not that. They're great.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything else, Gray?
I think I've probably said too much. Just, do yourself a favor. Watch this flick. It's great.
Hell yeah. Matt, what would be your grade out of 10 for Kingpin?
I will say I will give. This is a perfect example for a good dump comedy. This kind of movie not work anymore today, but in the time is that was the best one of the best example to see. So for that I will give like 7.5 of 10 for this movie. It's not a big movie. It's not extraordinary, but the humor work great. The actor are all good, and the concept is so absurd. You need to see that. So for all that, I give a 7.5 of 10 for this movie.
Amazing. What about you, Superbald? What would be your grade out of 10?
I think for the first time ever on this podcast, I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10.
Damn.
I'm guessing maybe I'm looking at it through maybe rose-colored glasses and nostalgia, but I can't like even on the rewatch, I couldn't find fault with it. Like there was nothing that I said, "Ooh, okay, I don't think that would be done today," type of thing. Um, it was just, I think, the perfect example of a mid '90s dumb comedy. It was like the quintessential example, and I find it still holds up. I still laughed my ass off when I watched this. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
I cannot blame you, and I will be very close to your grade with a solid and well deserved 9.7 out of 10 in my end.
Damn.
You're
I
literally taking 0.3 off for the piss drinking joke.
yeah, I did. That was my only issue with it, and it must hurt the movie. Okay. Anyhow, Gray, what would be your grade?
Yeah. On Letterbox, I think I gave it a 4.5. So I guess that translates to a 9. It's kind of a dumb comedy. I don't think it's like cinema, like if I'm showing like somebody like, okay, this is how you need to dissect a film. This is how a film should be made. I don't think it's quite a 10 for me, but if you're going to go with comedy, man, especially PG-13 comedy, if we're just ranking those, it's 10 out of 10. But overall enjoyability, rewatchability, definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. So overall, 9 out of 10. But if we're going to go more niche on it, it's a 10 out of, PG-13 comedies.
Okay,
Amazing.
okay. For the purpose of this podcast, I would give 9 of 10. Okay, guys.
Well, you can stay
But
there.
you don't need to change your grade for us, man. It's like,
It's not
I
like
feel I need that because
well,
we love
mind you,
so
we're
much.
like Gray and I are obviously we saw this long time ago, and we're coming from a different angle, really.
and
For
I know.
sure. Nostalgia's bumping this up a lot for me.
Hmm.
And, I can still remember every joke like before it hits, but it's still making me crack up. That to me is good comedy. A lot of times, a lot of the comedy is kind of surprise based, but once you know the surprise, it's like, okay. But this just, every one of those holds up for me. Even though I know like you leave Miss Rebecca out of this, like I know that's coming up, but still, it cracks me up. So to me, it holds up. I would definitely go 9 out of 10. But please don't feel influenced by us. You rank it
no,
yourself.
we are
Uh,
no echo chamber.
No,
If
no
someone's-
peer pressure here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
okay,
But
okay.
I'll kick your ass anyway.
For
No, I'm
once, I'm
kidding.
not the
I'm
crazy
kidding.
one. Anyway, thank you a lot for suggesting that, Gray. So, what do you have going on your end of the internet, Gray?
Nothing currently. Working on making a new show on my channel, but yeah, if you just can't get enough Gray until then, go on over to the Thinkers on that darn kidda's channel every Thursday morning. It's people from like 4 or 5 different countries getting together, disagreeing about everything. I think we've got a lot of things in the news that we're talking about this time. I guess there's like Tesla attacks. Yeah, I think there's like 4 other subjects that I can't remember right now. But yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, a little bit more political, a little bit more topical, go over to YouTube at that darn kid every Thursday morning. Other than that, yeah, not much. Stuff in the future. What about you, Superball? You got anything you want to advertise here?
No, I'm same old, same old. Just this podcast. I do want to create some new projects in the future, but That is still a very nebulous thing in the future. I have, fortunately, a lot of things in my personal life that I need to sort out first before I can even do that.
Okay, well, still, I'm glad you're there. You were there since September, most of the weeks. That's amazing. I'm
I've
just
only had to I've only had to miss twice, and
yeah,
yeah, last week I really wanted to be here because I didn't have a whole lot to say about those movies, but I was kind of pissed that I had to miss it just because of a snowstorm.
yeah.
I would have been interested in your opinion because I don't think Multi gave it a fair shake, and I thought this week he wouldn't give these comedies a fair shake based off of that. But you kind of did, except for the one joke that apparently did not work for him.
What about you, Matt? What do you have going on?
Like always, I see things and I write about them. It's like the thing I love to do. I see TV show, I see movie, and write about them each week. Other than that, I have a basic life. I work and I sleep, and I not have a great life to talk about. So yeah, other than this podcast, I love to do nothing. So yeah, same old, same old. And you,
Amazing.
Multi?
Thursday there's the Daredevil Born Again stream, and maybe we will have some people on this panel on it. We will see what happens Thursday. Outside of that, next Tuesday we are talking about Galaxy Quest, and this will mark the end of season 6 of the show. And we will be doing a tier list, which I will get into backstage to all of you. And outside of that, well, next week a lot will happen. I plan on watching Nova Cadwin. I can't remember how the new Quaid movie with the guy that's in The Boys that cannot feel pain.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about, Gray, right? Gray.
Yeah, it looks really good. The dude who can't feel pain, so
Yeah.
he uses that as a superpower. Good
Yeah.
times.
And Black Bag as well, the next Kate Blanchett movie. I'm curious to see what happens with these two. Anyhow, as of right now, we are out.
Yeah, that blue podcast. Come check the scene. Movies old and new. Know what I mean? The Red Blue Podcast. Come check the scene. Movies old and new. Know what I mean?